What's up, heroes? Mike here, and after a few days of researching and looking at extensive Mortal Kombat 11 gameplay, I have figured out all the details we know so far and wanted to go over that with you today. So we got a lot to talk about. Let's jump right into it. Starting with the roster. Now, from what I've seen, and you've probably seen this too as well, the roster's looking somewhat kind of thin. I mean, it's looking in the mid-20s, like it could be 25 to 30 characters initially on day one, but that's kind of small or slim compared to previous Mortal Kombat games. Like MK9 had a lot of characters initially, and then MKX as well too, and then of course more characters over time with the season passes. So this is only a little bit concerning. Hopefully, obviously, we'll get more details, and they'll probably do something like they did before in recent years, where like they'll drop news on a new character maybe like every week in the weeks leading up to the April 23rd release. So here's all the characters I got so far. Found out alphabetical order. Baraka is back, which obviously most have seen. Cassie Cage is back as well too. Geras, a new character they've made for the franchise with an unknown origin, though he is known to serve Kronika. Also another new character. More details on her in a bit though. But Geras, though, he can shift time, experiencing it at a faster or slower speeds than the mortals, and his physical weapons manifest out of sand and stone. That's very cool. Even though this character was not shown off, at least in gameplay, Katana is there, and then Kung Lao, who at least was shown in what looked to be like the story, after having been killed in Mortal Kombat 9, then resurrected by Shinnok in Mortal Kombat 10. You know, we see two versions of Kung Lao, a normal version and a Revenant undead version, basically, facing off. You know, basically they're facing off against each other in one of the trailers. So, and then Kronika, the other new character who seems to be the chief antagonist of MK11's story, her quest for power requires her to alter the timelines distorted during the events of MK9 and MKX. And then Liu Kang is back as well too. We also seen him in a trailer where he's, there's a younger version of himself, or a normal version at least anyway, fighting his Revenant. So that's interesting too to see what's going on there. We'll obviously have to find out more later on. And then Raiden, of course, we seen him in there in the first announcement trailer. Scorpion as well too. And Shao Kahn, of course, we know is in there. He's a pre-order bonus. Not sure if he's going to be playing a factor in the story yet though. Scarlet, which we saw some awesome gameplay of her. So glad she's back. Sonya Blade, who is voiced by Ronda Rousey. That's freaking awesome. And one thing real quick I want to note is they are working on an MK movie reboot of sorts. So it's been in works for a while. I'm not sure when it's coming out. It'd be awesome if it came out this year, to be honest. Like, maybe sometime after the game releases or close to the game releases. Who knows? But I think if they do, continue with this, they should add Ronda in there as Sonya Blade. I mean, she's already voiced her in the game. Technically, she does have a good look for her as the character in real life. So, and got that martial art experience with UFC. So why not? And lastly, here we got Sub-Zero, who's also in there, and we've seen too. So very exciting here. Like I said, hopefully they, add some more characters. Hopefully that mid-20s is not the final initial roster. And please give us Spawn. No, they did shed some light on the story, though, at least a little bit more details. Not a ton, but the story is confirmed to follow the events that occurred in Mortal Kombat X, and this new story mode is said to be a time-bending narrative that will, as Ed Boon says, allow for situations where old characters can meet their younger selves. This time manipulation will occur because of Kronika, the first female boss in Mortal Kombat history, which is fantastic, by the way, in my opinion, as she is the keeper of time and creator of existence, and needs to bring order to the universe through any means necessary, following Raiden upsetting the balance of history by torturing Shinnok. That's dope. That's a little taste, a little teaser there of information about the story there. Cannot wait to see what happens with that and who all we play during that story mode. And just, I know we're going to get a good one though, because they usually deliver a good, rich, very good quality story. Even though I know some people argue, MKX's was better than 9's, or 9's was better than MKX's. Me personally, I enjoyed MK9's better than MKX's, but hey. So now we get into the real meatiness of this MK11 news, the really juicy details, at least in my opinion, probably the best or most important part, is the new game mechanics and features in terms of like what's new, what's still there, etc. and how these are going to impact, the meta of the game initially, and how the meta may evolve over time. So first, let's get into fighter customization. Players can create, modify, and collect multiple versions of every character, from costume pieces, intros, victories, as well as a huge variety of skins. That's very cool. Character variations return as well from MKX, with every character having 3 built-in game variations like before, but with the added customization features introduced in Injustice 2 and expanded upon here in MK11. The character variations will be almost infinite because, much like in Injustice 2, you can switch out special moves and abilities with certain gear. That is very good. What my concern is, real quick, before I continue, is that my issue, and I know probably a lot of other people's issue with Injustice 2's like gear system and the way we got that stuff, it was very randomized. Aside from when you did do the multiverse stuff where there was like certain specific gear you could get through doing that. Outside of that, though, it was very randomized. So I'm hoping they adjust that and fix that issue for MK11, because I definitely would like specific challenges or towers to get certain gear and stuff like that right out the gate. No randomization, please. Let me know how to get this so I can get it done. So moving on here to the more technical gameplay features and stuff going on now. There's these offense gauges for offense attacks and defensive gauges for defensive attacks. Both refill after each use automatically, basically being on a cooldown. So meter is gone, which is weird because we have gotten used to having meter for X-rays, meter burning special moves, and doing breakers, but all those are no more, including no more running. What this means now is you can amplify special moves, which I'm not exactly a big fan of. This new, change, plus the way this works, you literally don't do anything to refill these gauges, like no assistance at all. Whereas, in other fighting games, or most fighting games, Street Fighter, etc., you actually got to put in some work, like initially. Like that first hit is important, whereas here it's not. So, and I'm gonna go into more details how, strategies for this game will be implemented and stuff like that, and how this affects like that, and what the devs want you to play, at least for players. So now, and plus I know this may upset a lot of you guys, myself included, and you might be thinking like, what the hell is going on with Mortal Kombat? But there is a defensive mechanic similar to Injustice 2 called Flip Out. If you are being juggled by a combo, you can spend a bit of your defensive gauge to flip out the combo, which is very good. Glad they did do that. So that way, it's just not, you're just not basically being overpowered. And then speaking of combos, the combo strings and combo structure seem to be toned down from MK9 and MKX. And this was confirmed by the devs, as they want players to focus on less of an aggressive playstyle that you might remember from heavy and running game, where you focus on your opponent with doing 50-50s and stuff, in MKX. They want players to play a more grounded footsie game. This is quoted by Ed Boon in recent interviews, that they want players to have a more intimate neutral game with each other. Most fighting games had this, or have this. One in particular is Street Fighter V, which I know I keep bringing up, but I did not expect this, from MK game, to kind of go a Street Fighter style way. Character movements are slower than MK9 as well, and MKX, but you have the ability to roll backwards and forwards away from your opponent to avoid getting metered. So that's at least a good factor, but I don't like the fact that it's slow compared to previous Mortal Kombat games and just other fighting games in general. Like, I'm used to the kind of that more fast-paced, having more mobility type style, but I don't know, this could change, hopefully. So dashing and dash canceling is different in MK11. While not as good as previous games, you can still dash cancel similar to MK9, but it's not as effective. You end up spending a lot of time walking and blocking in this game, which was backed up by the commentators, calling the exhibition matches among pro players. And, I've seen that for myself. Yeah, I've seen how their strategy was, like, especially with Sonic Fox and Rewind. So, as I said before, X-rays are gone, but they get replaced with a new comeback mechanic of sorts, that can be only used once per match, called Fatal Blows. A new game mechanic similar to Rage Art in Tekken 7, where once you get down to 30% health or less, you can use it to make a strategic comeback. That's not even the best part, basically, of it, though. If you whiff it, you know, your Fatal Blow, it will regenerate on like a 5-second cooldown. So, yeah, if you whiff it, it'll come back. But if you hit it, connect with it, it's one and done for that match. You can also combo into Fatal Blows as well, too, which is very cool. Something else the devs added into the game is called Crushing Blow. Essentially, this is a mini X-ray of sorts that zooms in and highlights the action. And that takes place in counter hit situations. So, for example, if you down to an opponent and you just punch them in the air, they will fall straight down to the ground. But if you get, you know, a Crushing Blow and it's a counter hit version of a down to, then your opponent will be in the air longer, and which means you can basically do a couple more hits or follow up with a couple more hits or a combo unique to that attack, though. So that's very cool, and this is similar to what's called lethal hits in Soul Calibur 6, but the difference in MK11 is the Crushing Blows are preconditioned, it seems, whether you use a certain attack repeatedly or in a certain way or fashion. It's also kind of like activating brutalities, which are also back. But yeah, you have to do some setup moves and, you know, more stuff basically to activate Crushing Blows, which can also be used once per match, like Fatal Blows. So that's very good. You can at least have control over when to use a Crushing Blow, just like a Fatal Blow, but it's once per match. Another new awesome game mechanic is Flawless Blocks, a perfectly timed block that allows you to counter attack, basically, which seems to be similar to Garden Packs in Soul Calibur 6. So once again, yeah, they're taking some cool stuff from other fighting games and applying it here in MK, which is very interesting. Not exactly the first time you've done this, of course, because, you know, I think Street Fighter was like the main one that started the whole meter bar thing, and then MK started to apply that. So it's not the first time they've done stuff like this. I'm actually intrigued by that because I do like that mechanic in Soul Calibur 6, and I'm intrigued on how well it's going to work in MK. Because I feel like it's a great mechanic in Soul Calibur 6 to, you know, kind of make a quick comeback with, where you don't necessarily have to spend meter to, you know, do that with. So it's definitely going to take some time to get used to. I'm sure, you know, most players are not going to be able to, like, time it right away a lot or at all right away. It's going to take some practice. So that's very cool. Lastly here, in the last little bit of details, you know, I do gotta express how beautiful this game is. It looks more beautiful. It's more brutal. Violence is turned up to another level. You got improved facial animations. Fatalities are new and improved in brutality and quality for each character, along with the blood and gore. The online matchmaking is a big focus as well, where win or lose, you are making progress, and you're put with an opponent on or around your skill level, which is very key and important, I feel like, in all fighting games when you're playing online ranked matches, because who wants to be matched up with someone that's way above your skill level? Like, seriously, come on. I know in MKX that was a big issue, at least initially. That was one of my biggest gripes with MKX, is like I felt like it was unbalanced matchmaking in terms of skill level. And so yeah, hopefully that's fixed and addressed. I know they had mentioned before when I was reading some details that they are focused on like the esports side of things when it comes to the online aspect. So hopefully that does follow through. And lastly here, sort of another big issue aside from these certain changes they've made in the game mechanics is this collector's edition they announced. Alright, let me tell you what it includes and the cost, because I found that out too. So this report comes from IGN that the collector's edition includes the game, steelbook, case, a scorpion mask, as well as special packaging. And the cost of this is $299 US money, basically. And this is a GameStop exclusive as well too. So my issue with this is a few things. One, the cost. Like, why the hell is it that much money for so little stuff you get? Like, I get that the mask is the most expensive thing in the collection, but I mean, seriously, if it's gonna be that much, I'm sorry, you need to add some more stuff to that collection. That's just my personal opinion on it. I'm a diehard MK fan. I got MKX's collection when that came out. I felt that was worth the money. This to me is not worth the money. Now, obviously, you do what you want to do, guys. Some of you guys out there, if you want to spend that much for it, go ahead. I'm not gonna stop you. You know, you do what you want with your money. It's just, I feel like this is just not, you know, worth it in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on that too. Let me know your thoughts on these new changes they're making and how this game looks to you and characters and stuff like that. As I mentioned before, I personally, in terms of the roster, I hope the roster is a more deep roster initially, and I hope Spawn is a DLC character. They haven't talked about him yet, but Todd McFarlane, you know, sent out a tweet not too long ago making it seem like he is coming. So I don't know. I hope that's not some trolling he's doing. Ed Boon needs to stop trolling us too with Spawn, and just let us have Spawn. And even John Wick would be a good character too. I think John Wick would make a great DLC character. You know, John Wick Chapter 3 is coming out later this year too, so that'll kind of help, you know, just help out both things there. Let me know your thoughts and feedback, and obviously when I find out more stuff, guys, I will keep you updated and let you know all and any more MK11 news and details that come out in the future months here. So, thank you again for all your support. My name's Mike. I'll see you next time.